autism, ADHD, and friendships. Yes, let's do it. Let's talk about the hard stuff. I don't know about you, but I had trouble in that department growing up. So going way back, I see myself as a young kid so hyperfixated on horses because horses were the best thing ever created. And I was doing horseback riding and I was really into it. I was obsessed. And horses just like really got me. There's probably a link between autism and horses there's therapy. There's therapy for people with autism and horses and therapy. I just remember from a young age kind of being in my own world. I remember being more comfortable with one-on-one interactions, being really uncomfortable going over to people's houses where there were like family members present that I didn't know. I found that to be really, really challenging. And looking back at it now, I can understand from my perspective now that having people that I didn't know in space with me was challenging because I couldn't control the environment when I was like away. And I used to get really, really homesick. I think for me, the homesickness was also mixed in with some trauma stuff. And I really think that I was homesick a lot because I just like wasn't in my environment. So I remember feeling like I really wanted to hang out with my friends, but I would always ask if they could come over to my house. And the kind of hard thing for me, not kind of, the hard thing for me looking back at it now is that like I grew up in a house with active alcoholism. So my mom and dad both were active alcoholics, and that was really tough because I was inviting people into chaos. And we'll get to autism and trauma and alcoholism at another point in time. I definitely want to talk about that because I struggled with my own alcoholism. I'm now 4 years sober because autism happened. I learned about autism for myself, was diagnosed, and then became sober because I realized those two things were correlated. So for me, there was always this feeling of never being on the inside with people, never being the person that got the jokes or the person that really like knew the information. I remember being around groups of kids and everyone talking and chatting and me feeling just so lost. And also uninterested because I wanted to talk about horses and I wanted to talk about the things that I wanted to talk about. I was obsessed with theater as well. I was a theater kid. I am a theater kid always. And I always wanted to talk about that, or I wanted to sing, or I wanted to dance. And there wasn't a lot of people who wanted that as well. In high school, I wound up in the popular group. I didn't know. I didn't quite know that they were popular. I was masking really hard and it was a weird time. I remember feeling like I needed to be friends with them and feeling like I needed to go to all these events that I didn't want to go to and being so anxious before like basketball games and all these things where it was so loud and so uncomfortable. My gosh, it was so much. And I remember feeling like weird about getting invited to all these parties and the people that I was hanging out with who were like less popular, them not getting invited and the popular kids like not wanting my like normal friends to come, which probably were all neurodivergent too. I remember getting really big into drinking in high school because I was masking so hard and everyone was drinking. And that's really when drinking started for me and got really, really bad because I was trying to keep up. I was trying to keep up with everybody. And that was a really challenging time. I don't remember feeling super close to people. I had like one friend who I was really close to throughout like grade school, and then one other friend who I was really close to throughout high school, and then one other friend who I was really close to throughout college. So I felt like I had deep, connections and friendships with one person at a time, but everything else was very surface level. I was constantly worried that people were mad at me because I constantly felt like I was pissing people off and annoying people. And I also remember being bullied a bit for my singing voice, which was a really weird thing to feel because I would get all these solos and do all these things in the theater. And I remember the feeling of like this peer pressure to like feel bad about it, to feel bad about my gifts. So that was interesting. And then, yeah, I always had this feeling like I was in my own world and I didn't really know how to invite people in. And I also really didn't know how to express what I was feeling, but I always felt left out, even in these groups of people, even with my closest friends. I just always felt like there was something missing and I just didn't get myself and I didn't get other people. I just didn't get it. That caused a lot of depression and suicidality, especially in high school, because I felt so alone. Even though I was like in these groups of people, I just felt so alone. And oh my gosh, I just feel so much empathy for my younger self and all the things that she had to go through and all the identity shifts. Oh my gosh. And not knowing this, not knowing that you're autistic, I can't imagine during that time even having a diagnosis because people were so cruel. I don't even know what that would mean. But on the ADHD side of things, I feel like my ADHD just really annoyed my friends throughout my young life. I do remember being made fun of because I went to this special education trailer where they made me feel very dumb. My brain is very quick with a lot of things, and with math and science, like anything that was like numbers related, like dyslexia, I also had dyslexia and was not diagnosed. It wasn't a thing. Dyslexia like wasn't a thing that people took seriously. So I just remember having such a hard time with numbers and feeling so unintelligent, but then also feeling like really, really smart and that I wasn't allowed to be smart as a girl during that time. I really remember there was this boy I liked, and I remember getting really bad grades on some of my tests because I was trying to make myself seem like a dumb girl. Oh, God, that's so sad. But on the ADHD side of things too, there was just a lot of, I was being treated for ADHD, but like the hyperactivity, especially when it came to sex at a younger age, I was just really hypersexual and I didn't know how to be friends with people, especially guys. Like I just didn't know how to be friends with people. So I used sex as like control and probably I messed up a lot of what I thought were friendships and relationships, but that's how I got through it. There was a lot of complicated behaviors and gosh, like thinking back to that time, I feel so bad for that version of myself. And I feel so bad for anyone who doesn't know these things about themselves because, especially when it comes to the suicidality piece of this, it got really dark for me and really lonely at certain points in my life that, I don't know how I made it through. My sister was a big reason that I made it through these things. My parents tried the best that they could, but it was a really confusing time. So nowadays, I find friendships to be so much easier. And I know that might be like pretty wild to hear an autistic person say, but I really do find friendships now to be a lot simpler for me. And that is because I know who I am, I know what I'm available for, and I know what my boundaries are. I will say there are some neurotypical, I don't know if I have any neurotypical friends, to be honest. I have friends that have ADHD who are allistic or not autistic that I love them so much. And there are times that I know that I need to hang out with them when I have more sensory space, because there are going to be communication issues that I'm going to need to ask more questions about what they mean. I'm going to need to really put on my listening ears to understand them. And when I am resourced for that, I love it. I love it so much. And I have a lot of autistic friends now. And by a lot, I mean, I have a handful of autistic friends now that, I mean, some of them I feel so energized by. And I will say they didn't know they were autistic when we first became friends. And then I've had 3 people now who I'm really close with who have discovered that they're autistic because of my journey and because of me being open about my journey. So that's encouraging. That's really encouraging that people are getting to know themselves through my experience. And it's not, all the hardship is not for nothing, So I have autistic friends that honestly I feel so energized by after I visit with them, because there's just like this different language that we speak with each other. And I mean that in a way of like, they'll say like a word or a sentence and I know exactly what they mean. And that's really encouraging because sometimes it can be really hard to communicate. I'm still working on unmasking around like friends and different people. And I would love to get to a place where I can spend time with people just in silence and feel comfortable with that. I can definitely do that with my sister. My sister is my best friend, and we have like grown so much stronger together. And we've also grown up a lot and had to face a lot of codependent behaviors that we were actively engaging with each other. And we have grown a lot, and she just fully supports me and thinks that I'm the weirdest in the best ways, and thinks that she's so curious about my experience all the time. And whenever people ask me for advice or are curious about my experience, that's like a love language of mine. I feel just so grateful when I get to share my experience and it helps anyone. So, that being said, I hope that this video helps you or resonates with you. And I hope that you're finding your communities. And I hope that this community on this channel can be part of that. So if you like this video and you like my videos, please subscribe, stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon.